The Xylogarns viewed humanity with a mixture of contempt and amusement. Their analytical systems had dissected Earth's military arsenal in mere hours, labeling it archaic and insignificant. Primitive combustion engines, kinetic projectile weaponry, and a lack of energy-based systems marked human technology as laughably outdated. Reports from their strategists dismissed any threat from the so-called tanks and other ground vehicles. The M1 Abrams, in particular, drew derisive attention. To the Xylogarns, its mechanical rumble was a relic of an unrefined species, incapable of scratching the shields of their soldiers or their hovercrafts. It was a curiosity at best, not a weapon to fear. This arrogance was rooted in centuries of unchallenged superiority. For generations, their energy shields and plasma weapons had rendered all adversaries powerless. Entire planets had fallen before them with barely a fight. They assumed humanity would crumble the same way. They saw humans as predictable, bound by their reliance on outdated machines. What they didn't account for was human ingenuity. It was a blind spot, an oversight born of hubris, and it would cost them dearly. Inside the armored hull of an M1 Abrams, four soldiers prepared for a battle they knew might be their last. Each brought something unique to the team. Commander Rivera, a seasoned leader with countless missions under her belt, exuded calm authority. Beside her was Corporal Jansen, a tactical genius who had earned a reputation for turning hopeless situations into victories. Private Lou was their driver, whose mastery of maneuvering the Abrams bordered on an art form. And finally, Specialist O'Connor, the gunner, who could calculate trajectories and pinpoint targets faster than most computers. Together, they were a force of determination, a unit bonded by shared purpose. Despite the tank's age, the crew treated it with reverence, almost as if it were a living being. They spent hours inspecting every joint, plate, and mechanism, ensuring it was battle-ready. Knowing their conventional rounds might prove ineffective against alien shields, they worked tirelessly to develop makeshift enhancements. O'Connor, with help from engineers in the Resistance, crafted specialized ammunition designed to exploit any weaknesses they might find. These weren't sanctioned upgrades. They were acts of desperation, products of necessity and invention. Every creak of the treads, every hum of the engine, reminded them of the odds they faced. Yet they believed in the tank's ability to do more than it was ever designed for. Its armor was thick, its firepower unmatched by anything else humanity could field, and most importantly, it was a symbol of defiance. News from other regions painted a grim picture. Alien forces had reduced entire cities to rubble, their shields shrugging off every missile and projectile fired at them. Footage of the destruction flooded the Resistance's communication channels, a stark reminder of the cost of failure. People whispered about how the Xylogarns didn't just conquer, they obliterated. It was clear that surrender wasn't an option, it would only delay annihilation. In the face of this despair, the Resistance prepared for what they knew was a suicide mission. The M1 Abrams, with its small but determined crew, was the spearhead of their plan. As the tank sat in the makeshift base, the crew members each found ways to cope with the looming battle. Rivera wrote a letter to her daughter, her words steady but heavy with the weight of what might come. Lou carved small patterns into the interior plating of the tank, quiet symbols of hope he refused to articulate. O'Connor joked about how the aliens would be embarrassed when a primitive tank wiped out their forces, his bravado masking deeper fears. Jansen spent hours poring over alien battle tactics, seeking patterns and weaknesses, but even he took a moment to stare at the night sky. The alien mothership hovered ominously above, its lights casting an eerie glow over the land. To the Resistance, it was a harbinger of doom. To Jansen, it was a challenge, a target waiting to be brought down. The tension was palpable, but it was laced with an unspoken determination. This battle wasn't just about survival. It was about proving something fundamental. Against an enemy that dismissed them as primitive, the crew of the M1 Abrams prepared to show what humanity was truly capable of. The battlefield was a wasteland of fire and ash, its once fertile fields now churned into lifeless mud by the chaos of war. Alien hovercrafts glided across the scarred landscape, their sleek, otherworldly forms glowing with a faint blue light. Swarms of drones filled the air, moving with mechanical precision, their energy weapons crackling ominously as they rained destruction from above. On the ground, the Xylogarn foot soldiers advanced in perfect formation, their shimmering energy shields absorbing every bullet and missile thrown their way. The overwhelming display of power made it clear, this was not a battle of equals. Through the haze of smoke and the roar of explosions, the M1 Abrams emerged. Its engine growled like an ancient beast awakened from slumber, each rumble defiant against the futuristic alien forces. The tank's thick armor bore the scars of previous skirmishes, a testament to its resilience. Inside, the crew braced themselves. Rivera's voice cut through the tension, steady and authoritative, issuing commands with the precision of a metronome. Jansen studied the battlefield intently, his mind racing to formulate a plan. Lou's hands gripped the controls tightly, and O'Connor calibrated the cannon, his eyes locked on the target ahead. As the tank fired its first shot, the shells sped toward a hovering alien craft. The explosion lit up the sky, but when the smoke cleared, the craft remained unscathed, its energy shield shimmering faintly as if swatting away an insect. The aliens retaliated immediately. Pulses of bright energy streaked through the air, slamming into the Abrams' armor. Though it withstood the assault, each impact rattled the crew inside, a brutal reminder of the enemy's technological superiority. The alien troops, emboldened by their impenetrable defenses, broadcast a chilling message across all human frequencies. Their voices, synthesized and dripping with disdain, declared humanity's resistance futile. It was a psychological attack as much as a physical one, designed to crush hope and morale. The crew of the Abrams refused to yield. Rivera barked orders, her voice cutting through the noise. Jansen analyzed the enemy formations, shouting directions to Lou, who maneuvered the tank with precision, using the terrain to create cover. O'Connor adjusted his aim, targeting weak points in the alien hovercraft's movements. Each shot from the Abrams was deliberate, each maneuver calculated, but the shields held firm. Frustration began to mount, a heavy weight pressing on the crew as the aliens advanced relentlessly. The battle seemed hopeless, but desperation fueled creativity. Jansen noticed a pattern in the alien shields, brief flickers when their hovercrafts fired their weapons. It was a fleeting vulnerability, barely perceptible, but it was something. Rivera seized on it immediately, instructing the crew to wait for the precise moment when the shields would drop. It was a gamble, but they had no other choice. Lou guided the tank into a narrow ravine, forcing the enemy to follow. The close quarters negated the hovercraft's mobility, forcing them to rely on their shields as they pursued. As the next craft lined up its weapon to fire, O'Connor was ready. He timed his shot perfectly, firing a shell just as the shield flickered. The explosion that followed was deafening. The hovercraft disintegrated, its wreckage crashing to the ground in a blaze of fire and smoke. For a moment, the battlefield fell silent. The Xylogarn forces hesitated, their confidence visibly shaken. The Abrams had done what they thought impossible, it had pierced their defenses. The crew inside let out a collective breath, a mixture of relief and disbelief. Rivera didn't allow the moment to linger. Her voice snapped everyone back to focus, pushing them to capitalize on the breakthrough. The aliens regrouped quickly, sending reinforcements to overwhelm the tank. Drones descended in swarms, their energy pulses striking the Abrams relentlessly. The crew fought back with everything they had, using the tank's turret to take out as many drones as possible while staying mobile. They pushed the Abrams to its limits, exploiting the rough terrain to outmaneuver the larger alien forces. Despite the intense pressure, the discovery of the shield weakness gave the humans a glimmer of hope. Each new alien attack was met with precise counterfire, targeting their shields at critical moments. The Abrams became a symbol of defiance, its every move a challenge to the aliens' supposed invincibility. For the first time, the Xylogarns were forced to adapt, their arrogance replaced by a growing realization they had underestimated their opponent. The tide of battle shifted, not because of superior technology, but because of human ingenuity and determination. The Abrams continued its relentless assault, its crew working as a seamless unit, each member trusting the other with their lives. As the alien forces faltered, the resistance fighters on the ground rallied, inspired by the tank's success. They joined the fight with renewed vigor, using the Abrams as a rallying point. Though battered and bruised, the tank pressed on, carving a path through the alien forces. Every shot fired, every maneuver executed, carried with it the weight of humanity's fight for survival. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, it felt like victory was within reach. With the alien shield weakness exposed, the crew of the M1 Abrams wasted no time adapting their strategy. Every maneuver was calculated to exploit the flickering defenses, every shot aimed to hit just as the energy barriers wavered. It wasn't easy, the timing required precision, and the aliens adjusted their formations to minimize exposure. But Rivera, ever the tactician, led her team with unflinching focus. Jansen's sharp eye for patterns and quick thinking became their greatest asset, as he identified subtle shifts in enemy behavior and relayed instructions with unwavering confidence. The Abrams wasn't just surviving, it was dominating. Lou guided the tank through tight urban environments, where the towering buildings provided cover and channeled the aliens into narrow choke points. The rough terrain of rural landscapes became an advantage rather than an obstacle, as the tank's rugged design allowed it to traverse areas that alien hovercrafts struggled with. O'Connor's steady hands on the cannon turned every confrontation into an opportunity, his shots devastating alien machinery with precision that seemed almost supernatural. The resistance fighters, emboldened by the Abrams' success, adopted guerrilla tactics to complement the tank's assaults. Small teams moved through the chaos, sabotaging alien equipment and drawing attention away from the Abrams. Their hit-and-run attacks created confusion among the Zylogarns, forcing them to divide their forces and leave gaps in their defenses. The synergy between the Abrams and the resistance fighters was seamless, their combined efforts wreaking havoc on the alien ranks. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens faltered. Their rigid strategies, designed for overwhelming dominance, proved ineffective against the humans' unpredictable and adaptive methods. The Zylogarns prided themselves on perfection, but their frustration grew as their superiority was undermined by a primitive species. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. The alien command structure was not immune to the mounting pressure. Reports of human victories began circulating among their ranks, sowing seeds of doubt. Internal debates flared within their leadership, with some arguing for immediate escalation while others urged caution. The humans' ability to adapt was unlike anything they had encountered before. What they once dismissed as chaos was now a force they could not control. The crew of the Abrams, too, felt the weight of the escalating conflict. Each victory came with its costs. The resistance suffered losses, friends and comrades who had fought alongside them were now gone. Their names were quietly etched into the tank's interior by Lou, a solemn reminder of the sacrifices being made. Despite the grim realities, moments of levity found their way into the crew's lives. O'Connor's humor, though dark and biting, managed to draw smiles even in the direst moments. Jansen, ever the pragmatist, shared a rare chuckle with Lou over an old inside joke about their training days. Rivera, though stoic by nature, allowed herself a brief moment to acknowledge their progress, her quiet confidence lifting the spirits of her team. Victory wasn't just about strategy or firepower, it was about hope. Each small win, each destroyed alien craft, felt monumental. The crews celebrated these victories in their own way. They shared stories, laughed in the face of despair, and clung to the belief that their fight wasn't in vain. Amid the chaos, there were glimpses of something larger brewing. The Zylogarns began deploying new, more advanced units, sleeker, faster crafts with enhanced shields and firepower that dwarfed anything seen before. These were not merely reinforcements, they were a calculated response to humanity's unexpected resilience. The stakes were rising, and the crew of the Abrams knew it. Late one night, as the tank sat hidden in the shadows of a ruined city, Jansen stared at a flickering console. He had been analyzing the alien reinforcements, searching for any signs of a larger strategy. When he spoke, his voice carried a weight that silenced the rest of the crew. The aliens weren't just adapting, they were preparing for something massive, something final. It was a sobering realization, but one that steeled their resolve. The battle was far from over, and the ultimate showdown was drawing closer. The crew of the Abrams didn't know if they would survive it, but one thing was certain: they would fight to the very end. Humanity's spirit was unyielding, and the Xylogarns were about to learn that underestimating it had been their gravest mistake. The Xylogarns, humiliated by humanity's resilience, unleashed their ultimate weapon, a colossal, city-destroying behemoth that hovered ominously above the ruined skyline. Its form was both sleek and monstrous, bristling with energy cannons capable of leveling entire regions. A chilling broadcast echoed across human frequencies, a final warning that resistance would be met with total annihilation. The message was clear: surrender or be obliterated. Inside the M1 Abrams, the crew absorbed the grim news. Jansen quickly dissected the superweapon's design from intercepted data, his voice tight with urgency as he explained its devastating capabilities. Rivera listened intently, her jaw clenched as she weighed the odds. Lou, typically stoic, muttered a rare curse under his breath, while O'Connor's usual bravado was replaced with grim determination. They had faced impossible odds before, but this was different. The superweapon wasn't just a threat, it was an extinction event. Yet, even as fear loomed, an idea began to form. Jansen pieced together a desperate plan, one that required precision, coordination, and sacrifices they might not all survive. The superweapon's energy core was its Achilles heel, exposed during charging cycles, but only for seconds at a time. To exploit it, they would need to breach its defenses, evade an overwhelming alien force, and land a single, perfectly timed shot. The crew was silent as Rivera laid out the plan, her voice steady but filled with the weight of what she was asking. Each member understood the risks, but none hesitated. They were not fighting for survival alone, they were fighting for humanity's future. As the tank rumbled to life, Lou muttered a quiet prayer, O'Connor checked and rechecked their ammunition, and Jansen finalized the targeting calculations. Rivera glanced at her crew, a brief moment of pride crossing her face. They were ready. The final battle erupted with ferocity. The superweapon, flanked by a swarm of alien crafts and shielded by a near-impenetrable energy barrier, loomed in the distance like a harbinger of doom. The M1 Abrams roared onto the battlefield, weaving through rubble and fire as alien forces converged on its position. The air was thick with the hum of plasma fire, explosions illuminating the battlefield in bursts of blinding light. Lou pushed the Abrams to its limits, navigating through collapsing buildings and narrow alleyways to avoid the brunt of the alien assault. O'Connor fired relentlessly, targeting alien hovercrafts and drones with a precision that left no room for error. Each shot was calculated, each maneuver designed to gain ground toward the superweapon. The resistance fighters, scattered but determined, launched coordinated strikes to draw enemy fire away from the tank, their courage amplifying the Abrams' impact. As the tank drew closer, the alien forces intensified their attacks. A barrage of energy blasts struck the Abrams, rocking it violently and damaging one of its treads. Smoke filled the cabin, and warning alarms blared, but the crew pressed on. Rivera's commands cut through the chaos, steady and unwavering, keeping the team focused. Jansen's voice was sharp as he calculated the optimal firing angle for the critical shot, his hands flying over the controls as he adjusted their targeting system. The superweapon began to charge, its energy core glowing ominously as it prepared to unleash its devastating payload. The aliens believed humanity's end was inevitable, their confidence unshaken even as the Abrams closed in. But the crew knew this was their moment. Rivera gave the final command, her voice carrying a sense of finality. The Abrams emerged from the smoke, battered but unbroken, and lined up its shot. O'Connor's hands were steady as he adjusted the cannon, waiting for the exact moment the energy core would be exposed. Time seemed to slow as the superweapon's shields flickered during the charging sequence. O'Connor fired. The shell tore through the air, striking the core with pinpoint accuracy. The resulting explosion was deafening, a blinding wave of energy that lit up the sky and consumed the superweapon in a catastrophic chain reaction. Alien forces scrambled to retreat as debris rained down, their confidence shattered. The resistance fighters erupted in cheers, their cries of victory echoing across the battlefield. Inside the Abrams, the crew let out a collective breath, their relief tempered by exhaustion and pain. The tank had taken severe damage, and the cabin was filled with smoke and sparks. Rivera's voice, though strained, was filled with pride as she commended her team. But the victory came at a cost. As the crew regrouped, they realized O'Connor was slumped over, his station engulfed in smoke from a console that had shorted during the final attack. Lou reached over, shaking him, but there was no response. The realization hit hard. O'Connor had given everything in that final shot. The battlefield was quiet now, save for the crackling of fires and the distant hum of retreating alien crafts. The Xylogarns had lost their superweapon and, with it, their grip on the invasion. For the first time, they acknowledged humanity as a formidable force, their retreat a silent admission of defeat. As the sun rose over the smoldering remains of the city, the resistance gathered around the M1 Abrams, a symbol of their defiance and resilience. Though battered and scarred, the tank stood tall, its crew united by the sacrifices they had made and the victory they had achieved. Humanity had triumphed against impossible odds, proving that their spirit, ingenuity, and determination were anything but primitive. The battlefield, once a chaotic inferno, was now eerily silent. Smoke rose from the wreckage of alien crafts, their twisted remains scattered across the landscape. The superweapon's destruction marked a turning point not only in the war but in humanity's history. Across Earth, the news of the Resistance's victory spread like wildfire, igniting a wave of hope and determination. Cities still under siege saw their defenders rise with renewed vigor, the impossible now within reach. Humanity, battered but unbroken, rallied together. The crew of the M1 Abrams returned to a hero's welcome, their tank scarred but standing as a symbol of resilience. Rivera, Lou, and Jansen were greeted with cheers, tears, and salutes from soldiers and civilians alike. Their names became legends, whispered with reverence by those who had been inspired by their bravery. Memorials were erected to honor O'Connor and the countless others who had given their lives in the fight for freedom. Amidst the celebrations, there was a shared understanding of the cost of their victory, a somber reminder of the price of survival. Reconstruction efforts began immediately. The nations of Earth, once divided by borders and politics, united in purpose. Cities were rebuilt, alliances were forged, and humanity stood together, stronger than ever before. The invasion had scarred the planet, but it had also revealed the strength hidden within its people. From the ashes of destruction, a new era of cooperation and progress began to emerge. In the shadows of their defeat, the Xylogarns convened aboard a distant command ship, their pride wounded and their strategies shattered. The humans had proven far more resilient and resourceful than they had anticipated. What the Xylogarns had dismissed as primitive technology had, in truth, been wielded with a creativity and tenacity that they could not replicate. Discussions among their leaders grew heated. Some argued that humanity could be a valuable ally, a species worth aligning with rather than conquering. Others viewed the humans as a potential threat, their unpredictability too dangerous to ignore. As the Xylogarns retreated to their home territories, they carried with them a mixture of grudging respect and unresolved uncertainty. Their defeat had taught them an important lesson: humanity was not to be underestimated. The implications of this realization lingered, leaving the door open to future encounters, whether as friends or foes remained to be seen. Humanity's victory was more than just a military triumph. It was a testament to the qualities that defined the species: ingenuity, adaptability, and an unyielding will to survive. The M1 Abrams and its crew had become symbols of these traits, their story etched into history as proof that even the mightiest foe could be overcome by unity and determination. As Earth's people looked to the stars, they did so not with fear, but with hope. The invasion had shown them their potential, their strength when united. Whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity was ready to face them together, their resolve unshakable and their spirit indomitable.